The quiet of the Highland morning did nothing to soften the storm brewing between them. The mist rolled over the green hills outside the trailer window, curling like ghosts between the heather. Inside, Sam Heughan stood with his back to Caitriona Balfe, his hands clenched into fists. Caitriona watched him, her eyes wide, her voice trembling but still calm. "Sam. Please, don't do this. Not like this." He turned, his blue eyes burning with something she hadn't seen in him before: resentment, heartbreak, finality. "Do what? Speak the truth." His voice cracked slightly, though he tried to hide it. "Cat, I've lied to everyone. To myself, to the fans, even to you, and I can't anymore." She stepped closer, her heart pounding. "We made a promise, to protect what we have, to keep it sacred, no matter what they say." Sam laughed bitterly. "Sacred, Cat? What we had stopped being sacred when it started feeling like a secret." Her lips parted, 1,000 memories flashing in her mind: long nights on set, the stolen glances, the laughter that carried between takes, the quiet messages when the world wasn't looking. "You don't mean that," she whispered. But he did. She could see it in his eyes. "I do." He exhaled, his voice suddenly steady. "Everything between us is over." Silence filled the room like thunder. Caitriona took a step back, her breath hitching. "You're saying this because you're angry. Because you feel trapped." "I'm saying this," Sam replied, softer now, "because loving you in shadows has become unbearable." He looked down, almost in shame. "You have your world, your husband, your life. And I've been living in the echo of something that was never meant to last." Tears welled in Caitriona's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You think ending it makes it easier?" "No," he said, voice breaking. "It just makes it honest." Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the door. Somewhere far away, a crew member called for them to return to set. But neither moved. Sam reached for the door, his hand trembling. He looked back one last time. "For what it's worth," he whispered, "you'll always be my Claire." And then he was gone, leaving Caitriona standing alone, surrounded by silence, her reflection trembling in the window glass. The mist outside swallowed him whole. And though they would go on, act their parts, and smile for the cameras, something between them had ended forever. The set of Outlander was unusually quiet that afternoon. The crew moved with careful steps, whispering instead of speaking. Everyone sensed something had changed, though no one dared to ask. Caitriona sat in her chair, her script trembling in her hands. The words blurred. Jamie takes Claire's hand, their love eternal despite the years apart. How cruel, she thought, to speak of eternal love when hers had just been buried. Sam walked onto set a few minutes later, his jaw tight, his eyes hidden behind his sunglasses. He greeted the director with a forced smile, but he didn't look at her, not once. "All right," the director called out. Scene 47. Jamie and Claire reunite after the war. Deep emotion. Tears if you've got them. Rolling in 3, 2, 1. The cameras began to roll. Caitriona turned toward Sam, toward Jamie, and something inside her cracked. Every instinct as an actress told her to stay in character, to let Claire's love shine through. But all she could feel was Caitriona's loss. Jamie, she whispered, her voice trembling. I thought I'd never see you again. Sam's eyes met hers, finally, and for a heartbeat, the world stopped. His script slipped slightly from his hand. Claire, he said softly, but it wasn't Jamie speaking. It was him, Sam. The director leaned forward in his chair, sensing something electric. Tears filled Caitriona's eyes. Don't look at me like that, she said, half acting, half pleading. You'll make me believe it's still real. Sam stepped closer. His voice broke as he spoke his next line, but the emotion wasn't scripted. It was real, he whispered. Every bit of it. Silence fell again. No one dared to call, cut. Caitriona blinked, her tears finally falling. For a second, she forgot about the cameras, the crew, the world. All she saw was him, the man who had loved her in the spaces between fiction and reality. Finally, the director cleared his throat. That was unbelievable. Perfect. We've got it. The crew broke into applause, but neither of them moved. Sam turned away first, walking off set before anyone could stop him. Caitriona stood frozen, her breath shallow. It wasn't the scene that broke her, it was the truth inside it. As the applause faded, she realized something painful and undeniable. Even when everything was over, their hearts hadn't learned how to stop acting like they were still in love. The night had fallen heavy over the highlands. The sky was dark velvet, scattered with stars that shimmered faintly over the production cabins. The crew had gone home hours ago, leaving only the hum of distant generators and the soft whisper of wind through the pines. Caitriona stood outside Sam's trailer for a long time, her coat pulled tight, her breath forming pale clouds in the cold. She'd told herself not to come, that he'd made his choice, that everything was over. And yet, her heart had led her here anyway. Finally, she knocked. The door opened slowly, and there he was, tired, unshaven, wearing a grey sweatshirt and eyes that still carried the weight of the day. Cat, he said quietly, as if her name itself could burn him. Can I come in? He hesitated, then stepped aside. The air inside was warm, scented with whiskey and rain. A single lamp cast golden light over the small table between them. She didn't sit, neither did he. You shouldn't be here, Sam murmured. I know, she replied. But I can't keep pretending that today didn't happen. He looked up at her, pain flickering behind his calm. Today was just a scene. Ideographic period, no, she said firmly. It wasn't. You meant every word, Sam. He looked away, running a hand through his hair. You're married, Cat. I had to end it, whatever this is, before it destroyed both of us. Her voice softened. You didn't end it, you just buried it alive. He froze. Caitriona stepped closer, her voice trembling but steady. What we had, it was real, Sam. You can call it a mistake, you can call it weakness, but don't you dare call it nothing. Sam closed his eyes, his throat tightening. You think I could ever forget it? Every moment, every stolen look, every time you laughed when you weren't supposed to, it's burned into me. That's why it has to stop. Then tell me you don't love me, she whispered. He opened his eyes, and for a moment, she saw everything, the longing, the guilt, the ache he tried so hard to bury. I can't, he finally said. And that's the problem. Silence hung between them, alive and fragile. Caitriona reached out, touching his hand gently. Then don't let it be over like this. He didn't pull away, but he didn't move closer either. His voice was a whisper, rough and breaking. Some love stories aren't meant to be told, Cat. They're meant to be survived. Tears slipped down her cheeks, silent and unstoppable. And as she turned to leave, Sam's voice caught in the air, almost too quiet to hear. If this is goodbye, then thank you. For every stolen heartbeat. She paused at the door but didn't look back. Because she knew, if she did, she'd never be able to walk away. Outside, the night swallowed her footsteps, leaving behind only the echo of what once was, a love too deep to end, and too forbidden to continue. The following morning, the world went on as if nothing had happened. The cast returned to set, the crew laughed between takes, and the mist lifted from the hills like a veil being drawn from a stage. But inside Sam Heughan's trailer, silence ruled. He sat at the small wooden table, a blank sheet of paper before him, a pen trembling in his hand. He'd barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face from the night before, the tears, the pain, the look that had broken him completely. He'd told her it was over. He'd told her it had to be. But his heart refused to listen. He exhaled, lowered the pen, and began to write. I don't know if you'll ever read this. Maybe it's better if you don't. But I need to put these words somewhere, before they drown me. When I said it was over, I thought I was protecting you. Maybe I still believe that. But what I didn't say, what I couldn't, is that I've never stopped loving you. Not once. You walk into a room, and it's like everything else fades. You laugh, and suddenly I forget I'm supposed to breathe. You look at me, and for one terrifying second, I believe the world could make sense. But it can't, not for us. We built something in the shadows, and it became the most honest thing I've ever known. You made me a better man, Cat. And for that, I'll always be grateful, even if it hurts like hell. Maybe one day, when all this is over, we'll meet somewhere no one knows our names. And if that happens, I'll look at you the way I always have, like you're both the beginning and the end of every story I'll ever tell. Until then, I'll see you on set, and I'll keep pretending. He folded the letter slowly, then stared at it for a long time. For a moment, he thought of giving it to her, slipping it into her script, leaving it on her chair. But then he shook his head. No, she deserved peace, not pieces of him. He placed the letter inside the drawer of his desk, closed it, and locked it with a quiet click. Outside, a voice called, "Sam, we're ready for you." He took a deep breath, stood, and opened the door. And there she was, Caitriona, standing by the set, smiling faintly, not the smile of Claire Fraser, but of the woman who still carried the echo of last night in her eyes. Their gazes met for a heartbeat, just one, before they turned away, stepping back into the world that demanded they pretend. But the truth, hidden in that locked drawer, would never fade, because some words, once written, never die.